I'm still getting money. 10-year anniversary. Had a quarter chicken, but that cracker never searched me. My nigga smoking purple weed louder than the nursery.
What's good, y'all? I'm Hip, and I'm back with another video for you. If you ain't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down in the corner of the screen. For everybody that is subscribed, I appreciate y'all, man. And we try and get this thing popping. So today, I got another list for y'all. I'm going to tell y'all about the 5 strongest X pills I've ever took. Now, I've talked about ecstasy or MDMA on this channel before, so I'm not going to go too into detail about what it is. You can find a link down in the description to that video if y'all want to check that out. But today we just going to talk about the strongest ones I ever took. Now, ecstasy can be a lot of fun. We had a lot of good times taking ecstasy, but it can be dangerous too. You never know how your body's going to react to certain substances until you do it. And drugs affect everybody different, so you got to be careful out there. And they put all kind of different stuff in these pills nowadays, so you never know what you're getting. So it's important to test your substances and see what it is. Even if you're getting Molly and it's in crystal form, it could be something else. So you never know. So that's important. There's also a couple of different websites where you can look up certain pills if you get them and see other people's experiences and if they had the pills tested and what's in them, so you can find out before you take them. The two that I go to are pillreports.net and ecstasydata.org, and they got a lot of helpful information on there, so y'all should check them out. It was a time in my life where all we was doing was rolling every weekend for like 3 years straight, and so that ain't somewhere you want to be, so you got to be careful with this shit, man. So when we started taking ecstasy back in the early 2000s, the average price was $20 to $25 a pill. Nowadays it's about $5 or $10 a piece. So the prices really went down, but the quality of them, the good ones, are real good. So at number 5, we got the white sunflower. The white sunflower was a pill we had back in 2005. I had a plug from the Virgin Islands that would go to New York every few months and bring back 10 to 20,000 X pills back to Tennessee. He always had good pills, but the best ones we ever got was the white sunflowers. The sunflowers was a pretty big pill. It was white and it was chalky. It would crumble up real easy, but it had a sun on one side and a sunflower on the other side. At that point, they was one of the best pills I ever had. The sunflowers was actually MDA instead of MDMA. And the difference in MDA is it's a little more trippy than what MDMA is. It's not as stimulating. It don't have you as lovey-dovey and shit like that. It just fucks you up way more. That was one of my favorite pills. Usually at that time I was taking 4 to 6 pills in a night because my tolerance had got so high, and these were so good I don't think I ever took more than 2 in a night because they were so strong. I've took thousands of X pills and Molly over the years, and so for me to only take 2 of them, that's saying something. Coming in at number 4 is the Peach Omegas. We found the Peach Omegas back in 2002. This is when we was going to the rave clubs every weekend, all weekend. At this time, I was kind of trying to take a break from going to the club, but everybody in my house was going. So one of the nights that I stayed home, they told me about the Peach Omegas, and they told me it was the strongest pill they had ever had. So the next weekend, I went to the club with them. They had Peach Omegas again. It was a big pill. It was hard, not crumbly like the sunflower. It had a clean press on it. It was kind of shiny a little bit. Was also MDA. We was taking a lot of pills at the time. The first time I took it, I took one, and 12 hours later, I still felt like I did after the first hour of taking it. And that's unheard of. It was crazy. It was a good pill, man. I don't think I ever took more than one or two in a night. The thing you had to watch out for, though, once a pill gets popular and people know about certain ones, then the people that make them will start to counterfeit them. So you got to be careful. It's always good to test your pills and see what they are. At the time, this was definitely the strongest X pill I ever took. Coming in at number 3, we got another Omega. This one is a green Omega. It looked the same as the peach one, except it was green instead of peach color, and it has some little specks in it. We had them in 2002 as well. This was just a few weeks after the peach ones. I had just turned 20 years old. On this particular night, we was at the club. We couldn't find any pills. Finally, we found somebody that had some at like 4:30 in the morning. And we had to pay $35 a piece for the green Omega. So it was expensive. And since it was my birthday, I got 2 of them. Everybody else was faded off of one. I was really fucked up off of 2 of them. They were a mix of MDMA and MDA. So it was like 65% MDA and about 35% MDMA. And it was the perfect mix to me. At one point, I was so faded, we in the car, we was on the way to one of our friends' house. While we're in the car, for some reason, I thought they had done stopped at Taco Bell. I don't know why, because when you're on ecstasy, you ain't trying to eat nothing. But I thought they stopped at Taco Bell, and I asked them, did they get any drinks for their order? I was just talking crazy. When we got over to our friend's house, I was walking around, and I was rubbing on my head. I didn't have a hat on. I was rubbing on my head, and I said, that cat ain't got much hair on it, do it? There wasn't no cat over there. I was rubbing my own head thinking I was rubbing on a cat. That's how faded I was. I would always be more faded than everybody else. And that was definitely one of the nights that I was. Another thing I did, we was at the house smoking a blunt. They had passed the blunt to me. I hit it a couple times. And then instead of passing it to the next person, I set it down on the CD case and burned a hole in the CD case. And then I was trying to roll a blunt. And I was too messed up. And about 3 different times, I crumbled the blunt shell up and threw it in the floor. I didn't know what it was, and I thought it was trash and tried to throw it away. And one time, I couldn't figure out what the weed was and brushed it off in the floor. Crazy shit, man. So you got to be careful, because if you ain't in the right surroundings, bad stuff can happen to you if you get that messed up. It can easily happen where you can be messed up if somebody take advantage of you. So just be cautious when you're out there. Coming in at number 2 is the orange Tesla. Now, I got some of these orange Teslas back in 2017. And these are one of the craziest pills I ever seen. So it's shaped like a shield. And is real shiny, hard pressed. It's got the Tesla logo on one side. And it's got a score on the back and the letter CP. It also has glitter in it, and it glows under the black light. And so you can tell if you're getting one of the official pills if it glows. They have different organizations over in the Netherlands that make ecstasy. These companies, organizations, whatever, produce MDMA in mass quantities, and they've started to brand the pills like the pharmaceutical companies do. CP is one of those brands. They started putting that on all the pills they make, so you can tell that it's coming from them. Now the Tesla is one of the ones that became real popular. They even put a warning out for it because it had high quantities of MDMA. It has 2 to 3 times the average dose of MDMA in one pill. I took a whole one. I had a real good time, but a half of one will get you right, especially if you're not used to doing it and your tolerance is low. All you need is a half of one of these. It's one of the ones that they made a bunch of counterfeits of too. I had some about a year or so later, and I could tell as soon as I got it, it wasn't the same thing. It wasn't as big. It didn't glow under a black light. It didn't have sparkles in it. And it was whack. It was a dud. It didn't do anything really. One of my friends and her girlfriend took me to a club in Nashville called Play, and I was going to candy flip that night. Candy flipping is when you take MDMA and acid together. So I had one Tesla pill and one hit of acid, and we smoked a blunt on the way over there. And it turned out to be one of the most fun and memorable nights of my life. I might have to say that story for another video, but we had a good ass time. It was the perfect combination. I had a great night. But you gotta be careful mixing stuff like that, because if you don't know how your body's gonna react, and acid, I'm gonna get more into in another video, but that one's a weird one because you never know how it's gonna affect you until you take it. Because one experience might be good, then the next time you do it, it might not be a fun experience. You just never know with that stuff. And coming in at the #1 spot, the strongest ecstasy pill I ever took was the blue and yellow IKEA. I got these in 2017 as well. Everything I read about them online said only take a half. But, you know me, I can't just take a half. I don't know what that means. So, of course, I took 1.5. The IKEA's, it's a big pill. One of the biggest pills I ever seen. So it's a big rectangle pill. On the top is blue and got the IKEA logo. On the bottom is yellow, and it's got a score in the middle so you can break it in half. And it's got a small circle with the letters NL on it. That's another one of them companies that make them over in the Netherlands. This was definitely the strongest pill I ever took. So the first time I took it, I had heard crazy shit about it, and everybody said how good they was, and actually paid $30 a piece for them, which is crazy nowadays. But it was worth every penny. And I actually bought more after this time because they were so good. So my friend was with me, and he's a big guy. He's like 6'3", 250, 260, something like that. He took a half of one, and he was faded. At one point, he thought my daughter, he heard her walking upstairs and thought she was robbing us, robbing the house. And he ran and jumped back on the couch in the fetal position. And it was a funny sight, man, because he's a big dude. I seen cats and dogs running around that wasn't really there. I was faded all night. And I had to work that next morning. And I thought I was going to be okay and be sobered up by that time because it was like 12 hours after we had taken them when I had to go to work. I was wrong. I was totally wrong. I was still rolling balls whenever I got ready to go to work. He told me I couldn't go to work like that. And I was like, man, I'm going because they can send me home if they want to, but I ain't going to miss work. And when I got to work, man, I looked crazy. My eyes kept rolling back in my head. I couldn't stop it. My jaw was chattering. My teeth was clenching, all that. But I went to work anyways, and my boss and my coworkers knew something was up. They knew that I was under the influence of something, and they asked me was I okay, and I said, yeah, I'm good. I'm just recovering from celebrating last night because it was the NFL playoffs going on. So I just told them we was partying the night before and I was still recovering. I only had to work until like 2 in the afternoon, so it wasn't that bad. I think I messed up a couple of the credit cards on the tickets or something because I wait tables. And so I know I look crazy to them people, but I got out of there alive. I was still so messed up at 6 o'clock that night, I couldn't even help my daughter with her homework because my eyes still wouldn't focus. I was rolling for almost 24 hours straight, and that's crazy. Like, never had anything like that before in my life. The second time I took them, I was with this girl that I was talking to at the time, and we had got a hotel room. She had never rolled before, so she just took a half of one. And about 45 minutes later, she was throwing up because it was so intense, so strong. And once again, your boy took 1.5 of them. My baby mama had called me, and she was downtown, and her ride had left her. And she was yelling in the phone, telling me I needed to come pick her up. I couldn't even say complete sentences at the time. My phone died in the middle of talking to her. And it took me like an hour to figure out how to charge the phone back up and get it turned back on. When I finally did get it on, I was trying to call my mom so she could go get her. And after a couple hours of trying, I kept on looking at my phone and forget what I was doing. I thought I had called her. And then when I looked at the phone the next day, I had never even talked to her. At one point, I had Gal down to her drawers. I laid across the bed, and she's like rubbing on my back and shit. Next thing I knew, I guess I just zoned out because when I came to, it was time to check out. So we didn't even get to do what we really went to the hotel to do, you know what I'm saying? And she said that at one point I got out the bed and went and pissed on the wall right by the door of the hotel. Not in the bathroom, by the front door. I don't remember none of that shit. But I know when I got up the next morning to leave and put my jacket on, that it was wet. And so that happened. So yeah, the pills that they making these days are super strong. So y'all gotta be careful out there. Make sure you test your substances. Make sure you know what you're taking. Because if you don't, you might have a bad time or even worse. But that's about all the time we got for today. If you like this, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button down in the corner for me. Comment down below what y'all want me to talk about and we'll get it popping. I appreciate y'all, man. I'll catch y'all on the next one.
I'm ballin', speed ballin', I ain't stopping, no brakes. Young Jeff Gordon, Daytona 4 cakes. 100 OC is for my hoochie down in Dixon. X-Bit high five, he can't stop his arm from twitching. 2 German shepherds at the spot.